For this episode of the Armory, we are going to take a look at the Desert Mat from Urbanmatz. Alright gamers, here's an overview of the 6-foot by 4-foot mat from Urbanmatz called Desert. Now this looks like a really stripped down and simple desert battle mat, but don't be fooled by that. The closer you get in and look, the more details and nuance you see. It is a really beautiful mat that can be, I think, work really well for something like $40K if you're looking for a Martian kind of desert planet feel, but it also can work very well for fantasy games like Warhammer Fantasy Battle, Age of Sigmar, things like that. If you're looking for a sort of desolate, rocky, sandy kind of battle mat. Well, let's take a look at a few of the features of this before we take a look at some of the details of the mat itself. Alright, let's take a look at some of the details here. Like most urban mats, we've got a round edge here, and that's really just a matter of taste or preference. It shouldn't affect your gameplay much at all. And it is basically our standard 2mm thick mouse pad material. On one side we have this non-slip rubber material that will hold your mat down on your table. And on the top we have the very nice, smooth, soft surface that really will absorb dice rolls quite well. Allows your figurines to move around if you have movement trays. And also this is, once again, the kind of material that is fairly waterproof. So if you spill something on it, you should be able to wipe it up quickly. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the particular details of this mat. If you're thinking about making a purchase, you might want to see how some of the details look a little bit closer up. So once again, when you view this mat from a distance, it looks rather simple, but the closer in you get, you see that there's a lot more detail and complexity than you may initially have seen. And this is a good example of that. You can see here that there are tons of different kinds of browns and oranges that are involved here, and you can see there's almost sort of striations of rock that are placed in the mat. So there's sort of a texture underneath all of these small details then that are added on the top. We have rocks with different kinds of colors and shading, and all of these are shaded very well on one side to give it a really 3D kind of look. So the closer we get, we start to see that there are at least 2 or 3 different kinds of layers of complexity on the surface, which is great. When you get down low, you can really see how nuanced this actual playing space is. Now when we move off to the edges, we get into these more rocky areas where you can imagine it's a little higher up and it's a little more wind-blown. And this is really nice detail here. The rocks are really fantastically drawn with multiple colors in there and very nice shading. It really does look like a rock surface with sand that has been blown around between the rocks. So really nice look there, and that really helps the edges and the sides pop out and give the middle of the playing field a feel of being a little bit lower, as if in a valley of sorts. And here's just briefly another example of the rocks from the other side. You can see here that just like the other side, we have the yellows and we have the tans, but in addition to that we also have touches of these purples and grays and even pinks that really make these rocks sort of stand out from one another. So really nice nuance, a lot of colors here, a lot more than you initially see when you look at the battle mat from a distance. So one thing I really love about Urbanmatz is the ability of the mats to surprise you. And here is just another example of that. I mean, we have a lot of oranges, a lot of tans and browns, and then right here we have some bright yellows and bright oranges. So as your eyes are going across the mat, suddenly they are drawn to this point and you are surprised by it. Now that is still used in a way that it's not overdone, it's not overwhelming with these bright colors, but there's just a subtle hint of them which is able to keep the playing mat quite interesting. And that's something I really appreciate with urban mats in general, is they typically have small touches of bright whites or bright reds or bright oranges that really help make the battlefield a lot more interesting and nuanced than it would otherwise have been. So when we draw out again now, we can see how this mat really has a dual nature to it. From up here, it looks fairly simple and fairly uniform. I mean, of course, the rock croppings will stick out to you. Those will definitely pop out. So it looks like a fairly simple game mat, but as we said, the closer that you get in, you begin to really pick up all the nuance and all of the color changes and variations. So it really is a quite complicated mat, even though it does give an impression up here as being rather simple and uniform. So I really do like that there's a sort of complexity to it. You don't see the whole mat all at once, but as you move around the table and as you move your figurines and fight your battles, you begin to experience different parts of the battlefield. And that, I think, makes quite an interesting gaming experience. And as with all Urban mats, you're given a nice handy carrying case for your mat with nice straps that make it easy for you to lug this thing around on your shoulders. You can zip it up, roll your mat up inside, and you're ready to go to travel around. And once again, I really do like the fact that Martin really has paid attention to small details here by giving us tags in which we know that this is the 6 foot by 4 foot desert mat. In case you've got a lot of these that you're storing, it's really nice to know which one is which. And it has this really easy handle here. You can store it underneath something, underneath a bed, for example, and pull it out, and you're ready to go. So very handy. I'm very thankful for these bags. It would be a pain if you didn't have them. It makes storage easy, and it makes taking these things around to friends' houses or gaming stores quite easy.
Well, there you have it, folks. A quick showcase of the Desert Mat from Urbanmatz. Please do take a look at Urbanmatz's website and support your small gaming companies. Well, thank you for joining us here today at Gray Army Gaming for the future of gaming.
Ta-da!